Let me tell you guys what I deem is the best trick on the fretboard to write unique and better guitar riffs. In this video, I'm going to explain to you guys what the simple trick is and how I more or less have adapted my entire style around this one simple trick. And then I'm going to tell you guys how to fight against the cliches and the generic riffs that we all tend to create whenever we get stuck in a rut, okay? So before I say another word, I am opening up my books for lessons. A lot of you guys have been DMing me and emailing me asking, yo dude, when can I get signed up for a guitar lesson? Now is the time here in 2025. So send an email to this email address right here, jennacharlesxrc@gmail.com, and we'll get you signed up and booked for a lesson, okay? That is the only spot that I'm taking serious inquiries, and yes, serious inquiries only. And with that being said, let's get into today's lesson. So what is the simple trick? Here it is right now, and that is playing higher notes. Okay, that's pretty vague. What are we talking about? Well, I adapted my entire style around this because I personally wanted to fight against the cliches when writing heavy guitar riffs. And the cliches are just writing really low, ignorantly tuned just chugs on the lower register. That's fun. Like, I'm not going to say that that's not awesome, but that can get stale pretty quickly, right? We've heard copious amounts of bands and artists write those riffs, and there's nothing against that, but it's just been done before, right? So how can you stand out from the pack? I started to just objectively and consciously fight against from writing riffs down here. So if you guys have seen me write riffs for the better part of half a decade now, or more so, ever since I kind of figured this out, I always try to start my riffs past the 12th fret, past the octave. And now before we go any further, this guitar is tuned to drop C, okay? Very common metal tuning. However, no matter the tuning, standard or drop, and no matter what letter you're tuned to, all these ideas apply, okay? So I always just consciously want to write a riff around the lower register, but I want to play on a high fret. So let me say that again. I always want to write riffs around the lower register, meaning a low tuning, but I always want to start a riff around a higher fret, therefore giving me a higher pitch. So now, due to copyright and stuff like that, I'm only going to stick with my riffs because I own them and I won't get demonetized, okay? But I'm sure you've seen some of your favorite bands do a lot of this stuff throughout the years, okay? So I'll take a song like one of mine is Strawberry Mansion. The riff goes like this. I chose to write that riff with this giant contrast. That's just a simple move. It's just a quick moment there, but I love playing open 1 to open 13 and going back and forth. So a little music theory wisdom here. 1 and 13 on your low string are exactly the same note and the same letter, just one octave, one pitch higher, one cycle through all the musical notes available to us. So rather than going, I decided when I wrote that riff that, hey, I'm gonna break up the monotony, I'm gonna go like this. I really love that giant contrast. I love going from that sounds really cool to me. That's really pleasing to my ears. And this moment right here in that riff stands out like a sore thumb, but like a good sore thumb. You know what I mean? Like that's a moment in that riff that's like super sick. Fast forward to different parts of that riff, doing taps here. That's cool. You know, that's just a cool guy trick. But the taps on 12, those stand out. I mean, that's why we love, you know, a famous piece of music written once upon a time, right? That's why we love that riff, and that's why that riff was so groundbreaking, is because there's notes all over the fretboard, and they're covering just a vast distance between the tap and the hammer-ons and pull-offs. Well, I took that same concept here with doing a tap here, just because it stands out. So it goes like this. etc. So just making that contrast and deciding I'm going to go from here to here, coast to coast. I say that all the time with my students. I love going coast to coast, meaning up and down the fretboard. Let's take another riff. Let's go Subtle Comeback, arguably my most popular song, written with Tom Barber of Chelsea Grin and Darko. It goes like this. Again, simple concept, just going from the 13th fret, a slide down. That sound to me is very pleasing, and it makes that riff stand out. It's just a cool move. It's just a different flavor, and you can't get this sound, this timbre, anywhere down here. So not only does it look cool, and it's like visually pleasing and, you know, makes like a cool movement with the hand, but also too, you can't get this sound anywhere else on the fretboard down here. You can get like a enharmonic note, meaning the same note, same pitch, but you can't get that low kind of rumbly, woofy sound on the low string. It just doesn't sound the same. You can get it here on the 6th fret, but it's not the same, right? So that's just something that I've really tried to incorporate in all of my riffs. The other song I wrote is a song called Chronic Pain. Here's another. So, whether or not you think any of that stuff's good, it's irrelevant. It's all good. It's all subjective. But I can proudly say that I'm proud of that riff because I love how I'm like riffing in drop C on like the 17th and 19th fret and playing chords and like sus2 shapes all the way up, way past the octave, all the way up in the, you know, the cutaway where like I'm hitting the heel of the guitar with my hand. I love that idea, and I really want you guys to take that idea and run with it. Because if I was to do this riff down here, it would be... And that sounds exactly the same, but to me it's not nearly as good or impactful. This is just kind of like bland to me. Take that and go this. Sorry, take this. Clean it up a little bit. Sorry about that. In my opinion, I think playing all the way up past the octave creates a really unique, bouncy, rubber band feel. It's way different. We're covering such high notes, and then we're immediately following these higher pitched notes with a low rumble. All right? Just give you one more for context. Let's go switch. It's been written in drop F, but here in drop C, it's like this. We have a lot of notes going on, but that giant contrast of consciously playing above the octave creates a huge gap between the low rumble of the low C and the C sharp and the octave C. That just sounds huge to me, and it sounds massive, and it sounds, dare I say, maybe a little bit more technical than it actually is, but it definitely feels like we're covering a lot more ground and doing a lot more work. We're not necessarily doing any more work, but the notes we're choosing to play cover more ground, you know what I'm saying? And one other song, just for context, I wrote a song with a band called 7th Day Slumber, and it was released this past April. I wrote majority of the guitar parts in that song, and the breakdown in that song is doing the same concept. A lot of high-pitched notes, and immediately following those high-pitched notes, I hit a low note for a giant contrast, for a big gap between the notes. So everybody, something to keep in mind, something to think about. That's like the best way I feel like you can separate yourself from the pack, with just like a really simple, quick fix. Just start playing way past the octave, and you're not going to fit in with the cliche caveman riffs. Now, I love caveman riffs. They're sick, they're awesome. Who doesn't love them? But they're kind of stock and they're kind of cliche, okay? So everybody, let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Like, comment, subscribe. Again, booking lessons now. Send an email and we'll get you taken care of, okay? All right, everybody. Love you guys so much. See you guys in a video very, very soon. Later.